Welcome to the class of Network Cryptography and Fundamentals. Today I am going to discuss about exponentiation, factorization, and timing attacks. So these are the three topics that I will cover today. So before proceeding with the topics, I would like to discuss about the objective of learning the same. As we know, we are going to start lecture about network security and cryptography fundamental. So our major aim is to protect the data that is being transmitted over network, the data that is communicating between two parties, how it could be secured. So there could be various algorithms, various exponential annunciation techniques that could be used in order to protect the same. So what will be our outcome is to maintain the integrity of the data, to maintain to protect the data loss. So in this way we will overcome these problems in cryptography. So first of all, I am going to discuss about exponentiation. What is exponentiation? Exponentiation, as the name is concerned with mathematical description. So what does exponentiation means? It means raised to power something like x raised to power 4, 4 raised to power 5. So it could be in the form of exponentiation. So what is the use of exponentiation in network security? If I am referring to a term exponentiation, it means I am referring to a mathematical term that could be used in securing the data. So why I could use that term? So that I can choose a number in the form of the exponentiation, and it could be complex to compute, or I can say it could involve complex mathematical calculations that could be difficult to deduce, so that when I am transmitting my message to the destination side, it could not be easy for the violator to attack at the same and fetch the details that are being sent over the network. So in this manner, if I am using the exponentiation technique, or I am protecting my data with the help of some encryption technique, and in that encryption technique I am using the concept of mathematical exponentiation, or I can say modular exponentiation, then my data would be secured, or I can say high security rate could be achieved, or data integrity could be maintained. So coming to the modular exponentiation, what is modular exponentiation? It is a type of exponentiation performed over a modulus. Let's say we have done various algorithms about network security and cryptography fundamentals, and in those algorithms we studied about like there are 26 characters in the alphabet, and we are supposed to limit our modulus to 26. That is why it is 26. So if we are performing some kind of encryption or decryption in network security and cryptography fundamentals, then we are using modulus of 26. So that is the key idea behind the same, why we are using modulus of 26, and the value of modulus 26 is 1. Mostly it is 1, and it may vary depending on the requirement, or depending on the modulus, or depending on the exponentiation technique that is being used for transferring the data over the network. So similarly, modular exponentiation is a type of exponentiation that is performed over a modulus. So it is useful in computer science. But which field in computer science? Because computer science is a vast field. It could be used in the field of public key cryptography. So that is the main key area in which it could be applied. So modular arithmetic exponentiation could be applied in public key cryptography. So the operation of modular exponentiation calculates the remainder when an integer, any integer, you can say any integer a, b, c, d, the base raised to eth power, that is the exponent. For example, b raised to power e could be there. It could be divided by a positive integer, let's say it is m, the modulus. So in symbols, given base b, exponent e, and modulus m. So the modular exponentiation formula could be C is equal to B raised to power E modulus of M. What does it mean? Ciphertext could be B raised to power E into modulus of M. So there could be a certain condition that could be there, or that could be associated with as exponentiation. So what would be that in the condition that I have explained here? It could be 0 is less than equal to C is less than M. So it could be that condition. For example, given B is equal to 5, E is equal to 3, and M is equal to 13. So the solution will be, you can calculate the same with the help of the formula, that is C is equal to B raised to power E into modulus of M. So what would be my result? That is the solution C is equal to 8 is the remainder of dividing, because what would be the B? B could be 5. So 5 raised to power 3, because E is 3, into 5 raised to power 3, 5 into 5, 25 into 5, 125. So it could be the formula that I am using, and into modulus of M. Into modulus of M. So that is modulus of 13. 125 by 13. So it could be 8. 8 could be the result. You can do it mathematically. So modular exponentiation can be performed with negative exponent E by finding the modular multiplicative inverse D of B modulo M using the extended Lucid algorithm. If you remember, we have already discussed Lucid algorithm in previous lecture, or I can say a day before yesterday. So you can have a look at the same if you want to know about the basic criteria of the Lucid algorithm. So I am telling you brief about what is Lucid algorithm. Actually, in arithmetic and computer programming, the extended Lucid algorithm is an extension to the Lucid algorithm and computes in addition to the greatest common divisor of the integers, let's say A and B, also the coefficients of the identity, which are integer X and Y. So in this manner, we are supposed to use the Lucid theorem here. So that is C is equal to B raised to power E into modulus of M, which is equal to, because I am finding the inverse as well. So D raised to power inverse of E, inverse that is negative of E into modulus of M, and condition is also given, E is less than 0 and B dot D is equal to 1 modulus of M. So modular exponentiation is similar to the one that is that I have already described, and it is very easy to compute with the help of the formula. So from this interpretation of the exponentiation, I believe that you are supposed to brush up your mathematical skills, because in network security and cryptography fundamentals, you are supposed to perform various calculations that are based on various kinds of theorems that you might have studied in your math subject, or I can say in 10th or 12th standard. So you are supposed to perform the same equations, mathematical equations, same mathematical formulas to the encryption techniques while using the same, because encryption technique is based on the behind the encryption technique, there is a mathematical concept that is being used, or I can say mathematical formula or theory that is being used. Similarly, if you remember, we have studied about fields, rings. So in this manner, we are supposed to do the same. So next is computing the modular discrete logarithm. Discrete mean to say, now I am using the word discrete. Discrete mean to say at the different intervals of time. Different intervals of time. Discrete logarithm, that is the task of finding the exponent E when given B, C and M, that is believed to be difficult. So this one-way function behavior makes modular exponentiation a candidate for use in cryptography algorithm. You can have a look at the example. You can do the example. I am giving you a time of 1 to 2 minutes. You can do this. Every interpretation is given here. Have a look at the same. So next is there are various methods that are being associated with exponentiation technique. So what are those? Because I am discussing today exponentiation technique in detail. So what is the first method? The first method is the direct method. So what is direct method? What is direct method? It means we can use directly a particular method to resolve our query, or I can say to resolve our mathematical query. So the most direct method of calculating a modular exponent is to calculate b raised to power e directly. That I have told you in the previous description. So b raised to power e directly you can easily compute. Then to take this number modulo m. So consider trying to compute C given, you can compute it. I am giving you the example. B is equal to 4, E is equal to 13, and M is equal to 497. So it could be C, which is equal to 4 raised to power 13 into modulus of 497. So one could use a calculator. Because complex mathematical calculations or computations are there, you can use the calculator to do the same. So use a calculator to compute 4 raised to power 13. 4 in the 4 13 times multiply करना है आपको, and this comes out to be 67 lakh 108 and 864. 67, 108, 864. So this could be the huge number. So taking this value modulo 497, the answer C is determined to be 445. You can do the same and tell me the answer. But there is one note that, or I can say one major point of concern that is being associated with the same. That is B is the only one digit in length. B is only one digit in length, and that E is only 2 digits in length. But the value B raised to power E is 8 digits in length. So what is the application of this direct method? What is the application? Coming to the application, it could be used in strong cryptography where highly confidential information is to be transferred. For example, in NASA, or I can say in banking transactions that could require highly secure platform. So in that manner, we can use the same. So in strong cryptography, B is often at least 1024 bits. Consider B is equal to 5 into 10 raised to power 76 and E is equal to 17. Because if you are performing strong cryptography, or I can say you want your data, you want to achieve high end security, then you are supposed to choose the high end number. Because if the number is large, more complex calculations will be there and it would be difficult for the hacker to hack the information. So both of which are perfectly reasonable values. So B is 77 digit in length and E is 2 digits in length, but the value B raised to power E is 1304 decimal digits in length. So these kinds of calculations are possible on modern computer, but the magnitude of such numbers causes the speed of calculations to slow considerably. So B and E increase even further to provide better security. The value of B raised to power E becomes unwieldy. So next main method is memory efficient method. How to save the memory, how to perform the calculation in the quick manner, or I can say instantly, but by saving the memory. Next is memory efficient method. So the major point of concern with the memory efficient method, as the name implies, is keeping the number smaller. Obviously, we are supposed to save the memory. So we are concerned with saving the small numbers, or we can use the small numbers that require additional modular reduction operations, but the reduced size make each operation faster, saving time as well as memory overall. But there is one main point of concern. If the number is smaller, it could be easy for the hacker to hack the information. So there is a formula, I can say, that is concerned with this technique. A dot b, you can write it down. A dot b, I am taking two integers. A dot b into modulus of m is equal to a modulus of m. Obviously it could be multiplied. A modulus of m dot b modulus of m, total whole modulus of m. So this technique is used when we want to save the memory and we want to perform the operations in the faster manner. Next is right to left binary method. Right to left binary method. So what is right to left binary method? A third method drastically reduces the number of operations. Obviously, if we are using the method from right to left and in the form of the binary digits, then number of operations could be reduced and we can easily perform the modular exponentiation. So keeping the same memory footprint as in the previous method. So it is a combination of the previous method that we have discussed so far and a more general principle called exponentiation by squaring, or it could be known as binary exponentiation. So first, what is required is that exponent e could be converted to binary notation. That e can be written as, e could be written as, I am writing it here, you are supposed to use mathematical formulas here. I am using the curly brace, but it is sigma actually. Just wait. I am opening the mathematical calculator. Just wait. It could be possible with the help of the scientific calculator, because those special symbols could be available in that. I am supposed to find the sigma. Just wait. I am giving you. You can just write it down as this symbol I am providing you. It could be in the form of, I am using. Just wait. I want to use pen here, so just wait. I am writing it here. I hope you are seeing this whiteboard. So it could be This is I is equal to 0 to n is equal to 1. I am writing it here. You can have a look at the same. N is equal to 1. Let me write it down. I will share it with you. I is equal to 1. A raised to power I could be 2 raised to power I. That's true. That's true. Yes, 2 raised to power I. So I am sharing this. So it could be E is equal to sigma I is equal to 0 till n is equal to 1 A base I 2 is having exponentiation sign, that is I. So in this manner I am supposed to compute the value of the direct method. So in such notation, the length of E is n bits. AI can take the value 0 or 1 for any I such that it is having the condition 0 is less than equal to I is less than n. So by definition, A n minus 1 is equal to 1. So the value of B raised to power E then can be written as, it is having complex formulas. I am just giving you the, just wait. Can have a look at the same. I'm sharing it in slide. Just have a look at the same. I hope this is visible. Otherwise, I could explain. So B raised to power E is equal to B raised to power sigma. I is equal to 0 to n minus 1. A of I to I, that is the formula of E, which is equal to pi. I is equal to 0. It is a limit to n minus 1. And B, A raised to power I, 2 raised to power I. So in this manner, we are supposed to perform the exponentiation in right to left binary method. So next is we are supposed to write pseudocode by applying the cryptography. Now we have studied right to left. It is also a method that you can reverse, that is left to right binary method. From left to right, that is pointing arrow could be like this. I can see it is could be in the form of this. So how that could be possible? We can use the bits of exponents in left to right order, but in practice, or I can say practically, we would usually want the result modulo sum modulus m. So in that case, we would reduce each multiplication result, that is modulus of m, before proceeding. So in order to make it simple, we are removing the modulus calculation here, or I can say modulus calculation is getting omitted. So you can have a example of how we can compute B raised to power 13. So if I have done the method from right to left, left to right could be your assignment. Mark it. Left to right could be your assignment. So in addition, there could be matrices. Matrices could be in the form of 2:2 table. 2:2, that is 4 cells will be there. 3:3, 9 cells will be there. 4:4, 16 cells will be there. 5:5, 25 cells will be there, and up to so on. So in this manner, we are using matrix representation here. So next is cyclic groups. Cyclic group, example of cyclic group is Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm that we have already discussed. So next, coming to the integer factorization. Next is efficient encryption. Now, what is efficient encryption? As we have discussed earlier, efficient mean to say quick response and memory saving. So that could be faster. And in the same manner, we are supposed to perform the decryption. RSA, we have already discussed RSA algorithm yesterday as well. So you can have a look at the same. In this, we are supposed to choose large prime numbers, and we are supposed to perform various mathematical calculations on the same. And there are 6 to 7 steps that are being associated with RSA algorithm, and you are supposed to compute the value in the end. So this is the case. In the end, we are supposed to choose E and D as our own choice. We are supposed to choose largest numbers so that it could not be easy to compute by a novice user. Next, coming to the factoring problem. So what is factoring problem? What is factoring problem? Or I can say we have already discussed basics about factoring problem in the beginning of the class, I think in 3rd or 4th lecture. So in number theory, because if you remember, I have delivered lecture about number theory, or I can say I have delivered 3 to 4 lectures about number theory. You can have the look at the same. In number theory, integer factorization, as the name implies, it is a term of mathematics. It is the decomposition of the composite number into the product of smaller integer. Integer factorization mean to say we are supposed to convert it into the small integers. So if these factors are further restricted to prime numbers, mean to say I am using particular condition on integer as well, that these could be prime numbers, then the process is called prime factorization. We have already discussed about prime factorization in number theory. So when the numbers are sufficiently large, no efficient non-quantum integer factorization algorithm is known. So we can apply that factorization algorithm. So there are many cryptographic protocols that are based on difficulty, of factoring large composite integers or a related problem. For example, I have given you the recent example, that is RSA algorithm, in which we are supposed to choose 2 largest prime numbers. So an algorithm that efficiently factors an arbitrary integer. Now condition is an arbitrary integer would render RSA based public key cryptography insecure. So what is prime decomposition? Prime decomposition mean to say, let's say, by the theory of arithmetic, or I can say by the theory of basic arithmetic, every positive integer has a unique prime factorization. Testing that whether the integer is prime can be done in polynomial time. So I can give you the example. You can have a look at the same. Just wait. I'm showing you the example. So this is the prime decomposition. This could be, I'm enlarging it. Just have a look at the same. Prime decomposition of n, which is equal to say 864 as 2 raised to power 5 and 3 raised to power tree, because in the end we are supposed to conclude the same. So 864, it could be 32, 27. Next 32 could be 4 and 8. Then 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And 27 is having 3 and 9. 3 is further having 3. 9 is further having 3 is 2, 3. So in this way, we are supposed to decompose the number. Now, there are two types of factoring algorithms that are being available. One is special purpose, second is general purpose. So what is special purpose factoring algorithm? As the name implies, special purpose. Special purpose mean to say it could serve a particular purpose. Let's say I am doing BTech in computer science. That is a general concept. But I am doing BTech in computer science with specialization in AI ML. That is available in Suresh Gyanvihar University. So that could be the specialization of CSC. Similarly, special purpose factoring algorithm that serves the particular condition, general purpose that is available to all, or I can say I can perform the basic calculation on the behalf of that general purpose technique that is being available to me. So what is specific purpose, special purpose, or special purpose factoring algorithm? Actually, it is a algorithm that in which the running time depends on the properties of the numbers to be factored or on one of its unknown factors. For example, size, special form, or I can say there are certain conditions that are being associated with a particular algorithm that are supposed to be fulfilled. For example, if I am talking about RSA algorithm, then there are certain conditions for that, because we are using some theta function in RSA algorithm. So there are various conditions that depend on the formula to formula, or I can say requirement of a particular algorithm. So it could be used according to that. So similarly, the parameters which determine the running time vary among algorithms. So important subclass of special purpose factoring algorithm is category 1, or I can say first category algorithms whose running time depends on the size of smallest prime factor. So given an integer of unknown form, so the methods could be applied before general purpose method to remove the small factors. For example, I can give you the very basic example, that is trial division is a category 1 algorithm. So you can have a look at the same trial division. Write it down, trial division. Because it is very laborious algorithm, or I can say it include very hard work in order to compute the same. But it is easy to understand the concept behind the trial division. So next is general purpose. So what is general purpose factoring algorithm? It is an algorithm that is known as category 2, because I am giving special purpose category 1, general purpose category 2, or I can say second category, that is first category. It has a running time which depends solely on the size of the integer to be factored. So in special purpose, it could depend on the requirement, it could depend on the various conditions that could be laid by the underlying algorithm. So general purpose is solely depend on the size of the integer to be factored. So you can have a look at the example of the general purpose, that is rational sleeve. Because rational sieve is a general algorithm for factoring integers into general prime factors. So next is I am going to discuss about timing attacks. What are timing attacks? in cryptography, as the name implies, timing attack. Because each and everything that is being delivered to you, or if you are involved in any conversation, or I am giving you the basic example of newspaper. If you are regularly reading newspaper, then you might have encountered that while reading the newspaper, you are not supposed to search for special terms or special words or phrases that are being used there, because beside that term or beside that word, there is a there is a interpretation for the same. So we are not supposed to look at the special meaning of that particular news or word, or I can say the phrase that is being used specially. So same is the case when you are involved in any conversation, or when anybody is giving a seminar or anybody is giving a speech. The message is very clear. Whatever he or she is delivering, that could be delivered with the help of some real life examples or with the help of basic understanding. Let's say I am going to tell you about the timing attack. Now, what does timing attack in layman language mean? Timing attack means at particular instant of time, I already know when to attack. I am going to attack in order to steal the data, because I know I am talking about cryptography. So I am timing attack mean to say I am supposed to attack at the appropriate time, so that I can have a access or control over the information that is being transmitted. So if I am talking about network security, it is obvious that timing attack means someone is already prepared and someone is already having clues about the two parties who are communicating with each other, and the third party wants to hack that information. If somebody wants to or I can say if some thief is there, and if thief want to steal something from your house, he is not attacking at your house instantly. He is watching your activities in that house, but that is not transparent to you. That is being kept secret. And after getting a whole control over those activities, the stealer know that, or the thief know when to attack at the particular instant of time at this house. So same is the case with cryptography. When two parties are communicating, like let's say they are exchanging some banking information with each other, and you are having one creeper who wants to know your information, or who wants to steal your information, or who wants to have a control over the information that is being transmitted between those two persons. So it could not be possible in a fraction of second. He could have a proper planning. He could have a proper tracking of the activities that are being transmitted between those two parties. And when the time comes, he will strike at that instant of time. So same is the case with timing attack. Now in cryptography, coming to the cryptography, a timing attack is a side channel attack in which the attacker attempts to compromise a crypto system by analyzing the time taken to execute cryptography algorithm. So every logical operation in a computer takes time to execute, and the time can differ based on the input, with precise measurements of the time for each operation. So an attacker can work backwards to the input. As I am already saying, if someone wants to steal your data, or someone wants to hack anything, be it in the real world as well, he is having proper planning. He is having proper planning, and he know when to attack. So he is working at the back end, but that is not known to anybody, and it is not transparent. So finding secrets through timing information may be significantly easier than using cryptanalysis of non-plain text ciphertext pairs, because sometimes timing information is combined with cryptanalysis to increase the rate of information leakage. So information can leak from a system through measurement of the time it takes to respond to certain queries. So how much this information can help an attacker depends on many variables. For example, cryptographic system design, the CPU running the system, algorithm used, assorted implementation details, timing attack countermeasures, accuracy of the timing measurements, etc. So the timing attacks can be applied to any algorithm that has data dependent timing variation. So removing timing dependencies is difficult in some algorithms that use low level operations that frequently exhibit varied execution time. So timing attacks are often overlooked in the design phase because they are so dependent on the implementation, because everybody is looking at the implementation. Everybody wants the end result. They don't know what is happening actually, how that code could be prepared, how the responses could be fed, or how the request could be sent. They are generally specialized in sending the request and receiving the output. What is the intermediate procedure? Most of the people do not want to intervene in the same, or they do not want to analyze that part, mostly because they are concerned with the output only, they are concerned with the end results only. Let's say I am telling you that you are supposed to secure 90% marks in this semester. I don't know how you are proceeding in the particular semester, or I can say seventh semester. How you will study, what subjects you will undertake, that is not my concern. But at the completion of this semester, I want 90% marks. So that is up to you how you are supposed to get those marks. Not because there could be some challenges that you might have to face, but uh, that could not be understood by the person who has given you a target. So it is your sole responsibility to achieve that target. Nobody wants to intervene what is happening in between. They just want this result. So this is your task. This should be the result. How that result could be achieved, nothing matters. So that is the case with design phase. So this is the summary that I have discussed so far. We have considered principles of public key cryptography by using various mathematical descriptions, and public key cryptography concept is already discussed, that is yesterday. What is public key cryptography, what is private key cryptography, what is private key? Actually in public key cryptography we are supposed to use private key, RSA algorithm, implementation, security with the help of number theory. And in addition, we have used the terms exponentiation, integer factorization, timing attacks. So this was all about my today's lecture. If you are having any query, then let me know. I'm giving you a time of 1 minute. Now, this is the book, that is a reference book by William Stalling. It is available in our college library, that is Suresh Gyanwihar University Library, one of the best library in the world. And all the books are available. Number of books related to cryptography are available, but I recommend you to study this book. That is a book by William Stalling. Get it issued from the library and have a look at the same. So if you are having any query, you can ask me. So this is MCQ that is related to today's lecture. Have a look at the same, and you are supposed to do 10 MCQ, and each question is having 4 choices, and you are supposed to tick any one, and you will be given 10 minutes to do the same. So have a look at these questions. 10 questions are there. So this was all about my today's class. If you are having any query, then do let me know. And in addition, write down one question that you are supposed to perform uh, calculation on RSA algorithm, and for that two integers will be given to you. Write down the same. Write down the same. 223, 223, and 227. 223 and 227. P is 223, Q is 227. So you are supposed to perform RSA algorithm on these two numbers. So this could be your assignment, and I will call any student to discuss the same in the next class. Again, I am repeating, 223 is equal to P and 227 is equal to Q. So you are supposed to implement RSA algorithm as an assignment. So this was all about my today's class. Thank you. Have a nice day.